Dear Dearie. That's so needle pulling thread. Anyway, just a little bit ago, I went outside and I started my car. Actually, that's not really that big of a deal. My car, the engine is fine. The engine has not been the problem, but I mean, I just haven't started it in 2 months ish or so. So it was a little bit resistant to turning over, but it did ultimately turn over. And I just sat there and kept it at about 1500 RPM till it, till it warmed up, and then took my foot off the gas and it dropped to about 950, and I thought it was going to die, and I was like, but it came back up a little bit. But it was kind of that moment of, so now the problem with the car is with the transmission. So that's what I need to get worked on. Which means I need to get, what's that stuff? Actually, I think I have a little bit. It's this crap. I've got to get more of this, because this is like maybe $15 or something, and $15 or so. It still smells like plasticine clay. Anyway, it's got that new money smell, even though it's not new. But yeah, it's going to take a bit more than like $15 to $20 for, fixing my transmission. But I think I know what it is. I think the pan just wasn't screwed on tightly enough, because the last guys who worked on it replaced the gasket that goes on the transmission thing. And I think they may not have tightened the bolts or screws or whatever enough, and I suspect it may simply be low on transmission fluid. We'll see. I just need to check it when it's not, in the driveway, like, because I'm sure that throws the measure off a little bit. And from what I'm told, I'm supposed to have it on a level surface with the engine running, wheels chalked, emergency brake set, and the car in gear, so that the transmission is actually spinning and the fluid is distributed to where it's supposed to go. That way, when you check it, you know how much is really in there, and it's not all down into that's a verb, down into the bottom of the pan or whatever. So I need I have to enlist one of my housemates to, because I don't trust my car. I'm sure it's going to try to kill me. So I figure what I'll do is I'll have one of my housemates sit in there with his foot on the brake, not the gas. Like, sometime later this week or something. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so that's the car. Now, I mentioned yesterday that Richard Castle, Ethan Fillion on Twitter, had asked the question, if you could travel back to any point in time, when would you go? I realized after I had finished recording the episode and had uploaded it and was watching it later, I realized that I never quite finished that story. So what it was is I'd started to say, just far enough to make some very subtle long-term investments. And then I stopped in mid-sentence and said, wait a minute, do I get to come back? Because that makes a big difference, to the equation. If I don't get to come back, I'm not sure where I would go or when I would go. But, I don't know, we'll see. So there was that. We had no podcast today, the StarCast podcast. Domo's got family in town up there in New York where he lives, and so we postponed it. It's kind of funny because, again, after recording last night's thing and uploading it, I realized that I hadn't said anything about the podcast today. And then when I checked Skype this morning, there's a thing from Geekdomo saying, "Oh, we're not doing the thing today because I got family in town." I'm like, "Oh, well, good. Then I don't." So now I will tell you that it has been postponed until tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Yeah, it's only 10:35 p.m. I'm allowed to say tomorrow. Of course, by the time this uploads, it'll probably be Wednesday. Anyway, so probably GMT -5, which is 5 p.m. on the East Coast, and 2 p.m. on my coast, on California, the left coast. So that should be when it is, and that'll be on Geekdomo's Twitch channel. TwitchTV, which is twitchtv.com/geekdomo, I believe. What are the chances of that? Anyway, speaking of Twitch TV, I've been trying to think, because somebody followed me recently on Twitch TV, and I said, I really don't stream anything, so I'm going to do my lip ball. So I'm not sure exactly what you're hoping to watch, but he said, well, I'll just follow you anyway, and if you ever do start streaming, I'll be the first one who's there. I'm like, well, okay, good point. So I've been trying to think, what would I stream? Yeah, because I don't really play that many games, and my computer's not, powerful enough to handle the game and the streaming at the same time. So what would I do with my Twitch? I mean, I've had the Twitch channel for a while, but I just never had anything to do with it, actually. I mean, I never had anything to do with it. I never had anything to do with it. Because I do watch things on Twitch. I watch the co-optional podcasts with, Total Biscuit and Dodger and Jesse and whoever their guest for the week happens to be. I watch, the guys from Evercast do their show every other Sunday and stuff, and that's always a blast. I watch, a lot of my friends live stream stuff. It's just, I guess I shouldn't say live stream because that's a different website. Anyway, so I'm trying to think, what can I do with it? And I thought, well, what do I do that people seem to take any sort of an interest in? And that seems to be voice acting. And I'm like, okay, I suppose I could fire up my webcam and let people watch me record, voiceover stuff. I mean, would people really want to watch me recording voiceover stuff? I don't know. And then watch me editing it, and then watch me pre-read the next paragraph 3 or 4 times, and then watch me record it, and then watch me edit. I can't imagine it would really be that interesting. But I mean, I used to think that banana and mayonnaise sandwiches sounded gross, and they're actually quite tasty. That's another story for another time. But damn it, there was something else that I wanted to mention, and now I've since forgotten what it was. I was going to write it in my iPad, and I have forgot to, because it was just a couple of minutes before I started this that I was thinking, okay, I'll go ahead and it's only going to be a few moments before I record this thing, and off it goes. It's gone. So the only other thing I can think of is jumping back to the voice acting thing. Earlier today, it was fairly quiet in the neighborhood, and most of my housemates were either gone or asleep. I thought, okay, I'll try to record some stuff. And I changed the way I record. Normally what I do is I do a lot of pre-reading of whatever paragraph I'm going to record. And I record it, and then I go and I edit the recording, and then I kind of tuck it off to the side, and I pre-read the next thing, and then I edit it, and I stick it over there with the first one. And once I've got everything in that particular article read through and recorded, then I go through and I stitch them all together and do a final editing pass on the whole thing to make sure that not only is each individual paragraph correct, but that they flow the way they're supposed to. And I discovered today what I did was I recorded a paragraph, and then I recorded a paragraph, and then I recorded a paragraph, and then I recorded a paragraph, and I went back and edited them all at the same time, and it did not work very well. And I think the reason for that is that when I'm recording and editing one at a time, since my system isn't quite set up for listening to like the monitor at the same time, because if I try to do that right now through the software, there's this delay and it throws me off. It's like this really tight echo that just, it sounds really wrong. There's like a half a second delay on everything I say, and it really confuses me. At some point I'll be able to set things up so that I'll be able to hear it in real time as I'm saying it. And I think that's why recording and then editing each paragraph individually, it lets me hear what I sounded like at the end of that last paragraph, and so I know to start the next paragraph sounding like that. So, because I'll be sitting there, I'll be saying something like, no other company can equal that level of quality. And it sounds like that at the end of the paragraph. And then if I'm just moving through, recording them one after the other and not stopping the editing pass, the next paragraph starts out with, but more than that. You know, it's like, oh gosh, no, that's not right. It's just, but I don't hear it until I finish recording them all. And then I go back and start stitching them together. And I'm like, oh God, no. And then I have to snippet that part out or go in and use the amplify tool in Audacity and we'll bring it down, but it still sounds odd. So, so yeah, there's that. But I don't know. We'll see. What else is there? I don't think there was anything else, and we're at 11 minutes. So I will let you guys go, and hopefully I'll see you guys. Well, I won't see you guys, but, well, I'll see, like, your names and whatnot at the podcast tomorrow, the StarCast podcast. And remember, I have some interesting stuff to talk about, which will probably get shot down like a space shuttle in the 39th century by a Vandal flagship. If that doesn't make any sense to you, you obviously need to come to the podcast. So there you go. Haha, neener neener. And until next time, be careless.